Hello. Welcome to our interview with financial therapist Jillian Knight. Jillian, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you became a financial therapist?
Yeah, so it's quite a long story, so I'll try to keep it succinct. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I've been in the mental health field for 10 years now. I'm in the state of North Carolina, and I came to financial therapy through my own experience with my financial journey. I came from a what would have been considered a lower middle class family. Didn't learn much about personal finance growing up. Went to college, took on a bunch of student loans. Went to grad school, took on a bunch of student loans. And pretty much avoided money because I didn't really know much about it. And kind of fast forward, got married to my husband who had gone to law school, took out a bunch of student loans. And we realized we had $364,000 in debt. We got on a really strict plan and paid down our debt. But we also kind of suffered in other ways during that time. And in finding other ways to engage with our finances and manage money together that aligned with our values a little bit more, I started to do some of my own kind of work therapeutically around money, discovered the Financial Therapy Association, and realized that I could be talking to people about money. You know, most people don't talk about money in general, but especially there's so many issues around women talking about money and wanting money. And so I decided that I wanted to focus on helping women and moms improve their relationship with money, especially around things like financial anxiety and the shame.
Yeah, and that's really what I think the bulk of these conversations in this interview are going to be about is the ways in which women in particular have maybe barriers between them and a good relationship with money. One of those barriers that we talked about is time poverty. I think time poverty is a fascinating concept and one that really shines a lot of light on this issue. Can you give a little definition of time poverty for us?
Yeah, so time poverty is essentially like feeling like you don't have enough time to do everything that needs to get done in life. And it's especially true. Especially, I think a lot of people feel that way. But I think it is especially hard on women and more so on moms. And then you get into it being even more so for moms who are women of color. It ends up impacting mental well-being, physical well-being, and financial well-being.
Why do you think time poverty has an impact on women more than men?
It's been my experience and what I've learned is that women are socialized to even now it's gotten a little better, but women are socialized to be caretakers. So they're we are encouraged to take care of children, take care of parents. That those are skills that we're encouraged to develop, and people look to us to be that person in our families. And then when you add children to that, for moms, it just adds a whole other layer of taking care of not only children but sometimes parents, and then trying to figure out how to maybe have a job or a career, and then you're also supposed to like find time to take care of yourself in there. And so I think women are a lot of times are encouraged to be self-sacrificing, or even if it's not explicitly stated, like we get the message that we're supposed to kind of sacrifice ourselves for others. And there's this whole like tendency to people please, to want other people to be happy with us. And so a lot of times we do that through taking care of others.
How do you feel that this impacts women financially?
Yeah. So I think women are a lot more likely to spend money on other people. So spending on their children, spending on gifts for people, spending on just being more likely to give money, more generous in their giving.
Mhm.
Um, and so, and then I think it also relates to a tendency to um, be more, have a more like frugal mindset when it comes to themselves. There's a lot of guilt and shame around money to begin with.
Mhm.
Um, and women, especially, there's a whole lot of talk about like mom guilt, where if we're spending time on something else instead of our kids, like we should feel guilty for that.
Do you feel that there are other systemic issues out there besides time poverty that affect women?
I think so. When we're talking about financially, there are a number of ways in which there are systems in place still, that women are just financially at a disadvantage.
Mhm.
So some that come to mind are, you mean, obviously, we all know that women are still paid less than men for the same work. And when you're looking at women of color, that's even a more significant gap. Um, and then if you look at how we're socialized and then how we interact in the workplace um, around the jobs that we apply for. Women are more likely to apply for jobs if they qualify 100%, versus men are more likely to apply for jobs if they only qualify for 75% of the criteria for the job. Um, Women are less likely to ask for a raise or negotiate their salary. And when they do, they're likely to ask for less than a man would. And I mean, when you're an entrepreneur, the rates that you set, the all of that, we're more likely to ask for less, and to actually be expected to just kind of appreciate what we are given, and not ask for more. Um, and then if you look into also just even the types of work, the types of jobs that women hold are tend to be lower paying jobs overall. And even within a profession, I think women are, less likely to be on the low, or more likely to be on the lower end, salary wise. And then I mean, you've got women leaving to have kids and then coming back and being at a disadvantage because they weren't, in the field for the same amount of time as a man. Um, I could go on. And then I think also some other ones that I hadn't thought of previously, but kind of learned recently, is this tendency to, women are more likely to be the ones doing sort of the unpaid labor of taking care of children. So there's that. But also the unpaid tasks within the workplace. So if you think about like who is more likely in a company or in a meeting to take notes, it's more likely to be a woman. Is she getting paid more to do that? Probably not. Um, is like who's kind of like organizing the parties and doing the extra stuff? It's most likely going to be a woman. And so there's just like a lot of like unpaid work that gets done that's not really recognized as work. And so I think that that really puts women at a disadvantage. Yeah.
Obviously, we can't work systemic issues out in therapy, but the emotions that crop up because of these systemic issues, do you think that women can benefit from that?
Oh, absolutely. So I, as a therapist, I have seen the power of therapy. I can seen personally how beneficial it can be, and also have worked with a number of women in my time as a therapist, and other groups of people. But I think that as a therapist, I have to recognize the systemic issues and like call those out so that people, I think part of therapy is also one, it's like helping women, in my case, helping women cope with the way that the world does work, and and recognize, the systems that they are a part of and how those systems are impacting them, while also helping them to figure out ways to either, to some degree, work within those systems, and then also how can they challenge those systems.
Yeah.
So whether that's like building up the courage to ask for the raise that they really want, or having some important conversations with their partner around unpaid labor. But it's kind of I know that I, as an individual therapist, am not going to be able to change these systems on my own. But I can help women recognize that it's not all on them. Like they are not. I think a lot of it, a lot of what we hear is kind of this like individualistic focus of like if you're not making a certain amount of money, or if you're not doing well financially, that like it's all your fault because you're not working hard enough, um, or you're just not doing it right. And I think that it can feel very much like it does feel like guilt, like I'm doing something wrong, it must be me. And we internalize that. And I think therapy can really help women see that that they're not the only ones experiencing this, that there are a lot of forces working against them, and that there are some things that they can do to improve their mental health, to improve their financial health.
Yeah.
Um,
It reminds me of something that a therapist once told me that I was speaking with, that it's really hard to know where you're going to go if you don't know where you already are. And it sounds like a lot of that beginning work is just figuring out where you are, as you're saying, what things are working against you, how does the world around you work, and in what ways is that not your fault. Well, wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Be sure to join us in the next video where we talk about some of the limiting beliefs that these systemic issues can cause in women. Jillian, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.
yeah, thanks so much for having me.